up and we're in action. I am Ylorie Taylor, so I have a lot of hats that I wear. Most people know me as Brown Girl Marketing, which would be a brand consultant, strategist. I have been a fractional founder. I have been a fractional CMO. I am currently the curator for Hue Affair that Sabrina so graciously started almost a decade ago, and I felt the passion to keep it going. And there are a host of other things that I love to do, like speak and moderate. And actually, I work with this particular data agency, Beauty Intelligence, as the marketing partner, the CMO for them currently, and we're going to talk about the Black economy. So let me give a little historical or a little context would be the better answer here. Obviously, many of us realize when you look at Black beauty and you try to quantify and qualify it, it is very hard to do. My example, Felicia, do you use all Black-owned products in your regimen? But she is a Black beauty professional, so if we were tracking her and her spend, currently it is not divisive enough for us to really put it into context. So some of these figures that I'm going to give you a little bit of background to why they matter and then how they matter to everyone in this room. Is that fair, Corey? Yep. Okay, good. So I'm going to read this first statement because it sets the ground for us. Black beauty in America encompasses beauty products and services tailored to the needs and preferences of Black consumers. It includes a wide range of product segments, including skincare, hair care, cosmetics, fragrances, and other products, including like nail care, body, et cetera, personal care. With a focus on specific concerns, because we are that consumer, right? We have specific concerns, and also trends that we find in our community that's not reflected in other cultures. The market is characterized by a growing emphasis on inclusivity, representation, and empowerment, driven by cultural heritage. So we all understand that the Black consumer makes purchasing decisions not just based on it being Black-owned, but the historical behind it, the founder behind it, the connection behind it, right? So she likes to feel seen and heard and safe and all those things. So that's very important from a cultural standpoint. Obviously, social media, we know TikTok as a conversion tool these days. TikTok Shop is a conversion tool. Instagram is a really pretty portfolio. That's what I like to compare those to. And then a desire for products that really celebrates our beauty standards. So our skincare regimen does not look like our counterparts. Our hair care regimen does not look like our counterparts. Sure, we can all wear Essie, et cetera, right? But I think, again, we have very unique beauty needs. And that's what we're here to talk about. So our value, first quarter, January through March, is unknown. And there's a reason why that is purposely left blank. It's something Corey has been on a mission, Ready to Beauty as well. And even in Beauty Intelligence, the data company that I work with and for, we have been trying to track this. But again, you heard me ask Felicia, does she only use Black products in her regimen? So we would need a really strong, maybe the melanin editor, right? We need a really strong consumer base where we can extrapolate data and say, do you spend, Sabrina, do you spend $800 a year on beauty, right? And if you do, a little bit more, a little bit less. If you do, not throwing arrows in here, just using it as an example. But if you do, what portion of that is dedicated to Black-owned, Black-founded brands? And we really need to uncover that because our buying power collectively has been grouped into things. And now that we're able to stand out and we've seen the recent shifts in the DEI, I'm going to say, dissolving. That's the word I'm going to use because I think things dissolve and then they come back too. So hopefully that will be, some type of resurrection, even if it's in a different format. But as we see things dissolve, we have to be able to quantify and qualify our value. We've seen it with the shifts in Target, right? Because that's been publicly talked about. But let's also make sure we're talking about the places that we aren't able to always track, the online, and we'll talk about that in the channels here, in the classes of trade and what we also call channels. We don't know what happens on lipbar.com. We don't know what happens on blackhairbrands.com. Obviously, Amazon has data, right? It is the #1 place to shop beauty right now from an online perspective, and it is fastly growing. TikTok is, right behind it, which is why Amazon is very interested in acquiring that platform. They understand conversion and convenience very well. So I think when you look at those things, and we go through here, we all know food, drug, mass. Some people say MULO these days. Specialty, prestige, OTC, Beauty Intelligence recently was able to acquire 1 million transactions on a monthly basis from the beauty supply. So we have a very introspective look for the first time. That's very historical from a company perspective because that was always an unknown space. like to the tune of 30 to 40% of the market unknown is now known. And then obviously I talked about online, and then, we say local Korean owned. We do have a lot of B&Bs or beauty and barber supplies or beauty supplies that are now being Black owned. And, we should work on that database, right? Because then we should go after those stores and make sure we're supporting those stores. And then salons and suites. Oh, thank you. I didn't know which way to look. So we talk about the brands who are, I'm going to say, making a difference, brands who burst on the scene. There's a lot of context in this slide, because we've also seen a lot of these brands go through phases, go through acquisitions, go through challenges, go through opportunities. When we look at cosmetics, clearly, we know why Fenty won, right? They came out the gate and said there's a shade for everyone that looks like me. And that was a winning strategy. And then Pat McGrath has always been a really clear leader, Juvia's, and Mented, because we have to look at the emerging and indie brands as well. We come over here to hair care. Obviously, Pattern set a different standard here and has been able to really have a leading presence with the celebrity behind it, which we hadn't really seen for a while in our industry. And those of you who are, older than 10 years old, you'll remember there have been a lot of celebrity brands that did not have the longevity and sustainability, and this brand has outpaced that. Briogeo, we all know Nancy and the acquisition of her brand, which was pretty major, very similar to a Mael, et cetera. Camille Rose, now clearly one of the largest, if not the largest, Black woman-owned brand in the hair care space. And then The Do, well, we see, the AI, the uniqueness. That brand makes a statement, right? And I think each one of these brands, when we look at why they make a difference, they all have a very unique quality behind them. Yes. You burst on the scene after all of this research started. But yes, absolutely. Looking forward to that. And then skincare, Black Girl Sunscreen, it doesn't have a cast. We remember why that brand burst out. We were all like, yes, sis, yes, right? Butter, we know, softer than butter. Darden, Hyper, again, brands that landed in prestige spaces where we hadn't had a lot of traction. And then they started to say, welcome, come in and let's see what you can do. Personal care, Love Scrub, Brown Girl Jane, we're in fragrance, we're in everything, We the People. So we're in all of these different segments. And I think the best thing for us to remember about our Black beauty is that we belong everywhere. And we have a distinct characteristic behind each of the brands that are represented in the categories. So I think this is my last slide. Okay, thank you. So the market shifts and drivers. So we talked about our beauty consumer spending, and I'm speaking of Black beauty, $9.5 billion on beauty products annually. That's a significant number. We are not to be played with. Our money is green and it spends like everyone else's. We on average, I was pretty close, $823. And again, for us and for Corey's perspective and what Ready to Beauty is trying to do, we really need to quantify and qualify this. We've seen what the power of the dollar does, and to be able to leverage this and have conversations so that retailers never ignore us again. Right? And then despite making approximately so we're about 14.5% of the population, we have a higher index of spending across beauty. We've said this for years. We know it to be true. We know if a woman has a $25 market basket, that probably 50 to 60% of that is on beauty products with her brand, right? So we want to be in that basket. And the most important part of that, from my perspective in the beauty intelligence world and Ready to Beauty, is who else is in the basket? Like, is she buying a product that we can service her on our side, and maybe even better? There's nothing wrong with having ally brands. There's nothing wrong with having complementary brands. There's nothing wrong with having a regimen that is diverse and mixed with different products. But are we also aware, making our consumers aware that we have products that exist to serve her needs, as well as our uniqueness in our formulas and in what we're doing to make sure that her needs are met? And then social media. I don't have to tell you guys, trends that start on TikTok end up being like reality, right? These brands come on TikTok and all of a sudden, hey, Ron, I just saw you there. All of a sudden, these brands, they pop up in stores. And it's amazing because some of them we've never recognized, never heard, and then they have this nice traction. And one of the things that we forget and everyone in this room, I feel like we probably realize this because we are into the data and we're at levels where data and dollars really matter for us in making beauty decisions, is that looking at those brands and being able to track those brands and look at their best practices could obviously make our community a lot stronger. And then the last part is, obviously celebrities. So we have Beyonce, Tracy Ross, Rihanna. They've been able to successfully resonate and continue that with our community. So Lisa, we are excited to have you back because you fit right in there with that same category. And we can't forget that those are opportunities for us to make a bigger imprint in our society and our community.
So I feel like this part we're talking to the crowd, to choir. That's the word. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you all know. See, I love when my family can finish my thoughts. Yeah, because we work in the industry. There is no Black beauty data pick in Nielsen. It's not like you can go in and pick that, as one of the product categories. So whenever there's data that comes out on Black beauty, it's always with an asterisk. I've gone to other platforms that we won't mention, and they have their numbers, and I'm always like, that's wrong. I know that's wrong, because by way of what Felicia said, we're buying across multiple categories. But this study is not on the consumer, and it's not necessarily on the buying power or how big the industry is. It's on all of you, your lived experiences working within that environment. So let's get into the research itself. Slide. Sorry. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to get chairs and I threw her all off. I'm from the South. I can't stand nobody standing. I'm like, everybody, get a folding chair, honey.
And let us all welcome Ron. Ron, I read your blurb. It was fabulous. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're.
While we're getting the clicker ready, you should share your role within the most recent beauty acquisition, because that wasn't a part of the introduction. I think it deserves.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Ron Robinson. I'm a cosmetic chemist and founder of my own brand, Beauty Stat. But yes, thank you, Kendra. We appreciate that. We appreciate the dollars.
30 million. That's 30 million.
We appreciate the dollars. Thank you so much. But I'm also the founding cosmetic chemist for Hailey Bieber's Rhode skincare line. So it's super exciting to be part of that meteoric rise and exit for an exciting brand. And, Hailey has been a big fan of my products as well, our vitamin C serum, moisturizer, eye cream. So it really was this mutual, sharing and giving of each other. And I'm just thrilled to be part of that ride. And, of course, we're starting to see the growth in my brand because of that extremely exciting exit. So thank you so much.
Yeah. So getting into this data, and like I say, if the data is focused on all of you, it's called Why. The slide is called Why a State of Black Beauty, because this whole presentation the study is a state of Black beauty. It's a state, not the state, because what we're doing is we're offering just an interpretation, a flavor of Black beauty. We're not monolithic. The industry is not monolithic. We all have different roles, as evidenced by the icebreaker. So therefore, it couldn't be the state. So as way of notes, Black beauty as a concept, the industry is complex and is often contested and debated. The legacy of Black beauty itself is viewed differently. And if you think about it, I wanted to focus on the professional in and of itself, because there's no data on you, on us. Take our sister industry, fashion. There's data in and around Black consumers in fashion, how much they buy. There's data around Black models and their lack of representation or their representation on Black covers. There's even data around now, by way of Harlem Fashion Row, Black designers. But there's nothing like that for us. You look at the medical industry, just another example. There's data around sort of Black research on certain drugs and certain ailments like diabetes and things of that nature, Black mother mortalities, childbirth mortalities. There's data around Black doctors and Black nurses. But again, There's nothing like that for us. So this data study, A State of Black Beauty, attempts to offer that, fill that white space. Slide. Oh, sorry. I should be doing it. You got her working. Yeah. Okay. Oh, she got it. So one more slide.
Slide again?
Yeah. Yeah. So we partner at the beginning of the year with Northeastern University to conduct this research. We asked Northeastern what systemic and market forces are shaping the experiences of Black beauty professionals today, and how can they be addressed to create a more equitable and inclusive environment. The whole goal is to document our story, not the consumer story, not the industry story, but those who actually define the market in and of itself. So we asked four questions, questions in and around the retail world, the changing landscape, questions around the work environment, what kind of work environments, be it a corporate environment, be it an artistic environment, be it a freelance environment, what type of environment do we work in. We asked questions around the diversity, equity, and inclusion rollbacks and the impact that was having on our respective businesses. And then we asked questions about what makes a Black brand in today's world. Should a Black brand be targeting a white consumer to expand their base? Should they be doubling down on just the Black consumer? All kinds of things like that. So slide. So again, slide, please. We focused on the four groups: the Black founder, those individuals who've started Black brands; the Black executive, those individuals working in Black companies, or those executives like Becca working at white companies; the Black artists like Keith and all his counterparts, be it the hairdresser, the stylist, the nail technician; and the other seminal contributors in the Black space, those who make it do what it do, like, say, a Kendra and a Sabrina. Slide. The research came out the way we did it, shook out. We had 138. We sent out about 250 responses, surveys, and we got 138 responses, which is phenomenal. It shook out that 47% of the people that responded were founders, 23% were executives, only 3% were artists. And I'm not sure if that is because of a classification issue, because you got 28% that were listed as other. And we didn't ask any type of qualification. So as a post-action study, we're going to focus on the artists, and we're going to be working with Tommy sitting over there to help do some post-action studies, along with some other things that we're going to be doing. Slide, please.
Corey, can you tell everyone that you did this and you had the concept, you got Northeastern, and you did it so fast.
Yeah, we did.
Now with this, you're going to do more.
Yeah, so we did it. We started in Kendra, February? Yeah, and Northeastern, their market research department works on trimesters. So it's like a 3-month turnaround from concept to ending in 3 months. So if we could have done it longer, I could have polled more people, but 138 is phenomenal. And you think about it, back in the day, when we used to do panel studies, before like the internet, like you get 138, that was like national news. I mean, so that, I know, and it took 15 minutes. That's right. So yeah, so there. Yeah, yeah, great, thank you. So the first group that we're going to focus on tonight is Black beauty brands. And again, contextualizing, slide please, what that world looks like. When I was growing up, there was, and some of you are in my age bracket, there was a whole campaign that said for Black glamour. What becomes a legend most? And so I sort of extrapolated that. You remember that? Yeah. I sort of extrapolated that and said, what becomes a Black brand legend? What defines a Black brand today? With the world of multiculturalism, is there even a concept of Black brand? So the data that you're going to see coming up next is a sampling. You're only getting a taste because you got to pay for the whole enchilada now. Mama got to pay for the food and all that. So we cherry picked some of these. Just a teaser. That's what I was just saying. Just a teaser. But I thought we really should have a moment to sort of celebrate the new news that's happening in the industry and talk about sort of the OGs in this space, and that clearly would be Miss Lisa Price, what she's doing and reacquiring her brand. Lisa, I just want to say, she Regrettably, we didn't get to her in time. She did not participate in the survey, but we're going to be focusing on her on the back end and highlighting the moment that she's creating with all the greatness of reacquiring her brand. So with that, I'm going to, and I looked it up. I mean, I didn't see any, other people have acquired their brands, but no one on this level. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa and Jessica for In Conversations with Jessica.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank y'all for coming. And Lisa, we do this a lot.
We do.
I feel like I've seen you maybe 3 or 4 times since the news came out about your, what I like to call reclamation, okay? Reclaiming my brand. So first off, I'd like to just ask you, what do you think your superpower is?
And I knew this question was coming up, and I'm still struggling to answer it. I would have to say that my superpower is resilience, but it's resilience with patience. I have the ability to wait, to sit and watch. I don't have to act immediately, and I can't imagine being where I am today without that ability, because there were a lot of times when I did have to wait and watch. You can't always act. You might want to, but you can't. You can't.
I believe patience, as your parents say, patience is a virtue. Sometimes you got to wait it out. Sometimes you have to see how it goes for other people. Sometimes you have to listen, and you learn so much in those lessons, and then you're finally able to make that move make an educated move. So what does it feel like to reclaim your brand? And do you consider that a personal win or a professional win? Both?
It's definitely both. I was just talking to somebody about this today. The thing that I'm finding most interesting is that people say, "You're back." But I never left.
Yes, never left.
And so what I'm still trying to figure out what got lost in translation, that the perception that most consumers have is that I left when I didn't leave. And I'm in this space right now where I feel like everybody that's doing something, they're calling me to see if I can be a part of it. And I'm not complaining about that. Yeah. Leanne and I were just talking about this before. She said, "You can't keep saying yes." I said, "But I have to, because what if it stops?" Yeah. We have to take advantage of it, while it's here. But there's this thought in my head of, what is it that I'm doing differently that people recognize that I'm present, because I was present before. Mm-hmm. And whatever that is, I don't want to lose it. Mm-hmm. There's also this feeling of being at home, even though, with the exception of the 4 people who came with me from L'Oreal, everybody is new. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I'm at home. Yeah. So it's definitely personal and professional.
So this wasn't on the question list, but what was it like to write that check? To be like, "Yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'm a do that." Was it like that, or were you like, when you buy a house, when you're like holding the check in your bra and you're like, "Oh my God, this is like way too much money"?
I don't mean for this to sound the way that it sounds. I really don't. But it's the truth. It's not really about that.
Okay.
It's about me. And my reputation and what I bring to the table. That's the check.
Yes.
That's the check.
I love it. That's power. Right. So what do you feel, you stepping up and reclaiming your brand, what do you feel that represents for the broader ecosystem of Black professionals?
It gives you another story, another path, another direction, because even I didn't think this was possible. Mm-hmm. So, like when people say, "Oh, what was it that made you think that you wanted to do this, and how did you go about putting it into action?" I can't take credit for that. I didn't have that thought. I did recognize that I was calling it into existence, even though I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. So at the end of 2023, just to level set and be a little transparent, I was going through a lot of stress at home, a lot. And I was finding it very, very hard to balance everything. And usually I'm a very good juggler. And I recognized that I needed to take a leave from work because that was the one thing that I could put on hold. I couldn't put family on hold, but I could put work on hold. So essentially, I was away from November until about mid-April. And November to January, I was kind of around because we had negotiated a partnership with the color purple, and I was not attending that red carpet. So my official leave began the beginning of January. And for the first time in my entire career, when I had taken a leave, I actually left. I didn't text, I didn't email, I didn't join meetings, I was not present. And I needed to really focus on me and my boundaries and my health and put everything else aside. So when I came back with a different perspective. I came back with, I'm not fighting the process. I'm not arguing with people. I am going to be the best steward that I can be for my brand. I will make myself available, but I can't have all of these arguments about what we do and what we don't do. And it was much more peaceful and manageable, and it was a different way of operating. So when this opportunity presented itself, I was a different person in a different space. I had detached myself because I thought that I was going to be letting go. I was preparing myself for what does retirement look like? What do I do next? I need to move away from this and not hold on to it so tightly. And to hear, well, what about you buying it back? Maybe you're the best person to run this. Maybe you should be doing this, was like, wait, what? I've been letting go.
I'm supposed to be on a beach somewhere.
I was telling her goodbye. Like, what are you talking about? And so and my heart answered before my head. You know, the heart was like, yes, I want that. You know, I couldn't envision not trying because I couldn't envision someone else doing it. Yeah. And I had to try. I said I was going to work another 2 to 3 years anyway within L'Oreal and then figure out how I would exit. So why not just work for myself for the next 2 or 3 years and see what we can do? And so it felt right, appropriate. It felt like it was orchestrated by someone else. It felt like a God plan. And I'm a very spiritual person, but I have never said that about business. But this absolutely was that. Throughout the whole process, I kept hearing, no, it's okay, it's good, I got you. And he did. He had me the whole time. But then once it was done and once I was in it, that's when it really felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. But I had to go through it the way that I did. So I don't have that feeling of, oh, I never should have sold in the first place. Not at all. This is exactly how it was supposed to play out. And so I think it gives other entrepreneurs and founders a different perspective. It's another story. And apparently not so foreign, just maybe not known to us. Yeah.
The buyback is real.
Yes.
People often buy back their brands.
You know, I feel like with the acquisition the first time, I was one of the first faces to be like, yep, we can do this too. Right. So now I get to do it again. Yes. Yep, we can buy it back.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, I love that. I love it. Yeah. I love that. So would you consider Carol's Daughter a Black brand? And what do you think constitutes a Black brand in this time?
That is such a good question. Yes, I think of Carol's Daughter as a Black brand. But what that question is making me think of is years ago when Obama was inaugurated the first time. I was in DC that weekend. We opened up our store in the Pentagon City Mall that weekend. And Jay-Z came to the store and signed autographs with me. Nobody wanted my autograph. And I didn't mind.
Like, I'm Carol's daughter.
They were lined up all over the mall to see Hova, and that was totally fine. But what he said was, because someone who was from the press had asked him, what does this mean to you in this moment to have a black president? And he said, it's amazing, you know, for me to see this, for me to witness this. But as much as I love it, I look forward to the day when it isn't a big deal.
Yes.
When it is just what it is, and he's just the next president or she's the next president, and it isn't about the fact that the person is black and the first one. That makes it so important. And so when I think about brands like ours, yes, it is a black brand, but the definition of what a black brand is going to change eventually. Because right now, I think the larger ecosystem and financial system looks at a black brand and thinks, well, that services 13% of the population.
Right.
Where when they look at a white brand, they don't think of a white brand just servicing white people. So you need to look at a black brand as a brand that can service everyone.
This kind of leads into this next question, is like, do you see a world where a brand can be unapologetically black in the marketing and in the product selection and all of that, but also broadly scaled? Because I think right now there's a lot of conversation about, in order to expand, you have to change the way you market, you have to change your brand ethos in order to reach a broader audience. So do you feel like we can stay true to those roots and, you know, be that kind of broad brand?
We can, but it is going to take time for it to be without incident.
Yes.
Because we are our own worst enemies. Agreed. And we will drag a person and cancel a company with a quickness, and we don't give each other grace. So if we feel that someone is talking to someone that doesn't look like us, we don't know how to handle it, we're upset, we're jealous, we're ready to fight the woman in the street, when it doesn't have to be that deep. But that's what it is right now. I think with more businesses, more acquisitions and reclamations and turnovers, we will get to a place where we're not so possessive. Yeah. But we're very possessive right now because we haven't been allowed to have anything, and things get taken from us. So I understand where the feeling comes from. But, you know, when I first started in 1993, when people would ask me, you know, who are your products for? I always had to answer in a very politically correct kind of way, and you know, you would be limiting yourself if you identified, well, people who look like me. But then I would say, if I bring in a family reunion album, because back then we had pictures in albums, we didn't have them in our phones. You would see a wide variety of skin tones and hair textures. I actually have the redheaded cousin with freckles, right? Like, nobody knows where she came from.
So we all know Dickie. We love Dickie.
But if you asked your colleague at work who's white to bring in their family reunion pictures or photos from a wedding or something, everybody kind of looks the same. It's not the same mixture. So if you are making products for black people, you are making products for everyone, because we's everybody.
Yes.
We have it all. Sometimes all the textures on one head. So it just there just has to be a comfort level in the conversation, a comfort level in different ways of marketing, a comfort level in understanding the buying power, who can buy what, who can use what. When I sold on HSN, 57% of the people I was selling to were white women.
That's amazing.
And I didn't
go on air with special things for them. You know, I didn't have like the white range.
Yeah.
I was selling mimosa hair honey to white women. I just told them how to use it.
Right. And that's what I believe. I believe if we formulate with all of our diversity in mind, then of course it can be used by anyone. And I think that's the message that we have to give out and put out. And like you said, we can be our own, worst enemy. But what we want to do and what the people in this room as Black professionals are working to do is to tell our stories in a way that everyone feels approachable, every brand that feels approachable to everyone. Well, I thank you so much for chatting with me again. And we are so happy for you, and we cannot wait to run out and support you in your new era.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to piggyback on that, is that true? Let's find out with the data. To the data. So we asked, just literally that point, do you believe targeting white consumers is a necessary step for Black beauty brands to reach scale, or is it a loss of authenticity? Well, the jury said, by way of all of you in the room, and those like you, that it's a split story. 29%, if you look at the first column, which is the darker one, said that it's a necessary step. Somewhat, they split it. 29% said somewhat no, and then 26% said somewhat yes. So the yin and yang, yin and yang. But when you look at loss of cultural authenticity, the story is different. 56% said, if you combine the top two boxes, said yes it is, versus 32% saying that it wasn't. So they believe that it's a necessary step, but the consequences of that necessary step that it is an erosion of cultural authenticity. Okay? Yeah, I got it. Okay, then we asked, how feasible do you think it is for a Black beauty brand to remain Black-led and Black-serving at scale? Overwhelmingly, if you look over here on this side, feasible and strongly feasible. Combine those top two boxes, 18 and 22%, 40, that combines to 40. So we all say that it is feasible. So there is hope. Yeah, there is hope. Then we asked, and again, these are just a sampling of the questions, and I'm going to go through these fast in the interest of time. How critical is it to appealing to white consumers for the survival and expansion? When I was at L'Oreal and I worked on Lancôme, we were always struggling with how to maintain our existing base, the old white lady, as well as attract the new young white girl. It wasn't even Black at that time, And here I was, my little black shiny face with Vaseline, all working on it, So, so it's like Ron was there during that time, L'Oreal, back here. And Lancôme was like the brand. So, so the answer to that question is, that only 11% said that it was very critical, whereas 34% said slightly critical. And the split between the 34 and the 28, where it's moderately critical, that's only a 6% differential. So then we asked, do Black consumers hold Black founder brands like, say, Elisa or Ron or some others in the room, a Karen, to a different standard versus what they do to their white counterparts? 84% said yes. Yeah, 84%. So the interesting question would be, how would consumers feel? We believe, because we're in the beauty business, so we think it, but do consumers actually think that they do it? That would be the corollary question. Do you get that? Yeah. So we know they do, or we think they do, but the question would, the beg out would be, do consumers think they do? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that they
Think they do. I think that they think they're holding us accountable. It's tough love. If I don't tell you, no one's going to tell you. And they don't recognize that it can be cruel. And it can be limiting. And, there are investors who, when they invested in a brand like Mielle, there was hesitance as to how to announce it and how do we do it, because they don't want to hurt it. And so there may be deals that don't happen because, how do we navigate that? They're going to be upset if we touch that. So you don't even realize that you're limiting someone's ability to build generational wealth for their family because an investor is nervous to muddy the waters and piss off the consumer.
Noted. Well noted. Okay. So then we asked, how important is Black founded versus Black ownership when considering a legacy of a brand? Well, again, looking at the far right, important and very important. So Black founded was 42% important, and very important was Black owned. So it is important. So we do want to found it, and we also want to own it. But yet, we do want to attract others to it. So the other questions, which I didn't bring in here, was what about selling? So how does that fit into like Black owning and Black founding? So take a look at that.
When did you ask these questions?
This was March. Yeah, March.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes the answers make a lot more sense.
Yeah. So now we'll move.
Target played in our face.
Yeah, target. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So we get into that too. Yeah, the DEI rollback. We're gonna move fast because I want to make sure we get through all this. So then we asked for the work environment. The context for this was, okay, we know the industry. We talked about that. We talked about what defines a Black brand, but what about where we actually work, the places? We asked questions like, have you been thwarted by your Blackness and how you show up? Has that impacted your success? Do you have to modulate, who you are and what you do, change your reference points and things of that nature? So let's get into some of that. But before we do that, we're going to have Caress, and I don't know why they're not there. Yeah, Caress and Dwight should be there. Yeah, my fault. Caress and Dwight. Yeah, sorry. Let's switch. Yeah, yeah. That slide got taken out by accident, I guess.
Just turn it on.
Yeah. Yeah, there. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, what's supposed to be there? Okay.
Hello.
That's fine.
You all can come up here.
Come up here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we have the team from Rose Neal Collective, right? And Dwight and Caress. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. And we want to talk a little bit, this is going to be a quicker conversation, but you all work with brands to get them retail ready, to work to grow them and launch them. And you work with a lot of minority owned and founded brands. And so first of all, I want to ask, what unique challenges do Black brands face when trying to get into retail?